24 hours. So for 24 hours now, I'll get the benefit of these things in the circuit. George, I should mention that of late, as I'm doing info boosts, I noticed that the CERT for me has been more impactful than the others. Well, at least I'm feeling the effect more profoundly with the CERT. So generally, when I hit the activate button on the limbic arc, within 10 or 15 seconds, I'll actually feel an energy shift. I happen to be really sensitive
You're
energy wise,
sensitive to that.
but I'll feel it. And I'm feeling that more profoundly with CERT than I am with the other. And I don't know why, but it
I
makes
know
me
that our
makes me
customer
happy.
success team has reported that. I know that there are some of our customers, throughout the world that really feel an impact on CERT. It's such a powerful tool.
Okay,
Great.
that is the guy. Now let's I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Does that all
Okay.
make sense?
You know, it's really fascinating, Dr. Cook, to see how you go through this and put all of those things together. So now you've got the grand total sum of, focus, of energy, motivation, and CERT. They're all working in concert. I mean, boy, if you need a lift, that's a very powerful way to get it.
And this is the kind of thing you could use even for a day. If you said, "Hey, I just need I'm making a presentation today for my work, and I need some extra energy or a little more boost, or I want to have more power in the presentation." This would be a good combination.
Yeah.
Turn it on for a day and a half or a day, the day you get up to go make the presentation. I would expect that it would give you the help that you'd be looking for.
Well, and it's a creative way to use it. I mean, if you've been running info boosts on very specific things and haven't done something like this, this would be a fascinating experience to try. Limbic Arc is such a powerful tool that goes not just for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. I mean, this is something that you can use literally for your life.
That's the plan. That's
Yeah.
my plan.
Well, thanks, Dr. Cook. I know we've got just a few minutes left. We're going to jump into a couple of questions if you've got a second, Dr. Cook.
Yes, let's do it.
Question number one. I love the Pet Info Boost program, and I'm wondering why there are only 2 active Pet Info Boosts allowed per time per pet. So now we're shifting our focus. We've been talking about the Human Info Boost program. Now we're talking about the Pet Info Boost program, understanding that there's a difference between the two.
The reason we initially or currently have limited it to 2 is because pets generally are more energy sensitive than humans. And to err on the side of caution, we decided to limit that so that you don't overload your pet inadvertently. So
Right.
that's the reason.
Okay. Okay. Great. Let's move right along. Second question. And we get this a lot through our customer success team, Dr. Cook. I have an autistic son who cannot verbalize or click on the kinetic response to do a spark scan. How can I use this feature for him?
You could act as a surrogate for your son. That would be the easy solution. And for those who may not be familiar with what I'm talking about, you may be familiar with power of attorney. In other words, George could say to me, "Vaughn, I want you to go buy this house." And he could give me a document and have it notarized. And it says, whatever Vaughn says, I'll pay the bill. Well, with that document in hand, I now have the authority of George, and I can go buy a house for George and he'll pay for it.
Yeah.
That's called power of attorney. A surrogate is essentially I'm acting as George's surrogate. So in the case of limbic arc, if I have a son who's autistic and cannot verbalize, I would act as his surrogate and I would vocalize for him, and I would use the kinetic response that, when it comes up, I would do that for my son. If my son can verbalize, even though it's not words, I can use his voice no matter what he says, or whatever the sounds are like. If he just clicks or mumbles, that's good enough. So, and then I would touch the flower when it shows up. Um, I probably should mention that the reason I can do that for my son is because he's my son. I have a very close connection with him, energetically and biologically and relationship wise. If I wanted to do a surrogate, be a surrogate for somebody I don't know, then I really would need permission from that person to make the surrogate experience legitimate or impactful.
Okay.
And I couldn't say, "Oh, I don't like this person. I'm going to do an info boost on them for bad stuff." You can't use the limbic arc that way.
Okay.
And you can't do it for good either. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, I'm gonna use limbic arc on Joe Biden because I don't like him or because I do like him." It doesn't matter. But if
Okay.
you have permission from anybody, you could act as their surrogate.
And just to be clear on that, you wouldn't use your personal Limbic Arc account. You would set up a friends and family account, or you would
That's
have an
correct.
account for the autistic son, right? And
That's
just when it
correct.
comes to the Spark scan is where you would go on their behalf.
That's right, George, and that's a valuable point because part of the limbic arc experience is when you set up an account, you create not essentially, you create a link to our database through a quantum effect called entanglement. And if you don't set the account up for your son, then you've got a muddled connection there. So you want to set the account up on our friends and family, then do that surrogate for your son.
Great, great. I know we're running close, but we've got one more question, Dr. Cook. And I noticed it when you were going through and setting up the info boost and selecting there are info boosts there that are called 5-element info boosts.
Uh-huh.
And there are some people that may not understand 5-element, and we get that as a question quite a bit. Could you talk to us about 5 elements?
Yeah, 5-element is a Chinese medicine concept that explains relationships between everything in the universe, but from a health perspective, between organ systems and energy systems in the body. The 5-element info boosts were created by two of our professional limbic arc users in Hungary, and they did a fantastic job of taking items in the library and assigning them into their different element categories. So the element categories, I think, are wood, water, metal, air, and earth. And that's just a reference point. So if you want to learn out more about 5-element, I'd suggest you Google it. There's lots of information out there. It's actually fairly complicated, but the 5-element info boosts are designed to enhance overall balance and overall function and overall quality of life.
Well, and I know that we've had a lot of good reports for those info boosts,
Yeah,
that they've
we
been
have.
very effective, and some of our more popular use info boosts.
And
Okay, so
George, I
we'll,
should give a shout out to Angelica and Magdalena. I hope I said those names right. They're the two who did this for us. So kudos
we've
to
got some fantastic people that are using this in very remarkable ways. So,
we do.
well, we'll wrap things up here very quickly, Dr. Cook. Thank you for being here. I'll just a reminder to everybody to put on your calendar our next scheduled call with Dr. Cook, which will be August 31st at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. And if you're using Limbic Arc, you need a little bit of help. You need some help setting up an info boost. Talk to our customer success group. They're there